Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com, and in this video we're looking at a new Seiko 5 sports model under the Field collection with the Seiko 5 36mm SRPJ81. So in this video and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as an authorized dealer. So in this video, deep dive in this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end, but also throughout the video, if you have further questions or looking to buy the watch, check out the link in the description down below to the product page. But guys, without further ado, let's jump into the video and take a closer look at this watch. Within almost every category of watches, Seiko seems to always have an answer when it comes to a solid entry-level mechanical option. Take the example of the world of dive watches, which Seiko has more than their fair share of great representation of. Then you have the SSK models representing that GMT lineup, and the speed timers now representing what we have under $1,000 for a chronograph. Now, when it comes to the more field-oriented watches, a segment of Seiko's history that is often overlooked with the history of the Laurel going back to the early 20th century and the Seiko Alpinist models they're following in the mid-20th century, it's a line of watches that also is as vast as anything that Seiko does. They have many models, including Seiko 5 pieces like the SNK 800 series, the 42mm SNZGs, and recently released in the last couple of years, the SRPJ81. The conventional Seiko 5 sports watches in a familiar format with the updated 4R movements on the inside. Now, all of these are considered some of the best in the price range when it comes to automatic field watches, but just recently, Seiko unveiled a new lineup of models within their Seiko 5 collection that I think were probably overlooked as a byproduct of some of the other releases during the period, with the new Seiko 5 field watches at 36mm. Today we're going to be looking at the conventional black dial version, which should be as versatile as any, with the SRPJ81. So looking first at the overall utilitarian field watch package that we have here, we are looking at an updated smaller dimension set with a very wearable case diameter of 36mm for those that want a smaller wearing presence. To follow, we have a thickness of 12.9mm and a lug-to-lug of 44.3mm. While the new case size stands out in a Seiko catalog filled with very large dive watches and field-oriented watches, Seiko, like most brands, are now leaning into what we've seen as a trend in the last couple of years, or at least returning to form, I should say, and now accommodating all different wrist sizes, especially on the lower end. Now, set between 18mm lugs is a fully brushed pin-adjusted steel bracelet beginning at hollow end links and following a 3-link style design before terminating at a stamped 3-piece clasp signed with the Seiko name. While the center link is riveted to the outer link, the bracelet is well articulated, making for a comfortable wearing experience, and thanks to the drilled lugs, can be easily swapped out for a variety of other options as this watch excels on NATOs and other different types of leather straps. The clasp does feature micro adjustment to help in achieving a comfortable fit despite the lack of included half links. All of this considered though, I would say this bracelet is just adequate and is not going to be earth-shattering by any means. Seiko, typically in this price range, I wouldn't say they cut corners, but their bracelets are never going to be the #1 leading factor in why you're looking in the direction of their watches. Certainly a viable bracelet, but perhaps falling behind some of the other excellent points that this watch is bringing forward. The case architecture follows in a similar fashion with vertically brushed sides transitioning at a near 90-degree angle to the brushed anterior side. At the 3 o'clock position, we have a relatively large 6.4mm push-pull crown with well-cut grooves and a brushed dome top. Transitioning to the underside, the finishing deviates from the rest of the watch as we see the only matte finish surface on the case body meeting the dome screw-down see-through case back, helping to achieve this watch's 100 meters of water resistance while providing view of the 4R36 movement inside, which we'll get into a little bit later. Returning to the dial side of the SRPJ81, a brush bezel surrounds a slightly domed mineral hardlex crystal, adding to the overall height of the watch. The curvature creates a traditional feel to the style and does not hinder legibility whatsoever, though it does allow light to gather on its surface when faced in bright or direct light. Peering through that curved crystal, we take up view of the matte, almost anthracite in color dial, setting the stage for the military-inspired field watch layout. A white printed minute track sits on the outer edge with a larger applied steel triangular marker equipped with Lume set at 12, and larger square markers applied every 5 minutes thereafter. Brush applied Arabic numerals lay inside the minute track while surrounding smaller gray painted 24-hour numerals to denote military time, interrupted at 3 by the large frame day date window. Like many other Seikos, the day-date complication visible at 3 o'clock has a white on black Spanish and English wheel for the days, with Sunday appearing in red, and a simple white on black numerical date wheel. At center, brush pencil-shaped hands filled with Lume operate below a red tip and Lume-filled second hand, which ticks over the relatively minimal dial text, with the Seiko name being applied above the painted 5 logo at noon and the printed script of automatic at 6. Finishing on the dial is excellent for the price, offering simple yet effective legibility thanks to the reflection of the markers and hands cutting through the crystal's glare in direct light. And in true Seiko fashion, the Lume shines brightly despite its somewhat restrained application in this use case. Now, while the 4R series of calibers from Seiko are nothing especially special in terms of finishing, it's important to note that the predecessors to this watch, when we're talking about those SNK models, were powered by the 7S series of calibers. A movement, while considered especially reliable, lacked basic modern conveniences of hacking and hand-winding functionality. Given the context, the 4R36 included here is a nice touch, offering hacking and hand-winding and a stated accuracy of plus 45 seconds to minus 35 seconds per day, though this example and the majority of Seiko calibers typically outperform those specs by a wide margin in my experience. In terms of visuals, the 4R36 is on full display through the exhibition caseback, but offers little in the way of movement decoration given the price point, instead presenting a utilitarian overall look and feel that is in keeping with the watch as a whole. In terms of general operation here, we're looking at 21,600 vibrations per hour, 3 Hz. It does feature hacking and hand winding, again hacking stopping the second hand when you pull the crown to the farthest position, and a power reserve of 41 hours. So now let's unpack and talk about a couple of the pros, a couple of the cons here for this watch. I would say there's 2 things that people will probably bring up for this timepiece. One is going to be the accuracy standard. Now, the plus 45 to minus 35 seconds a day is just the quoted range. Seiko usually outperforms this. They're very conservative and not over-promising, which I tend to appreciate, but that is a wide range, especially compared to other movements in the price category from Miyota as well as Orient. So that I think has to be mentioned. And then you have the Hardlex Crystal, which is going to be Seiko's proprietary mineral style glass. For the price range of $200, I don't see this as a big deal at all, but many people nowadays are sapphire or nothing, so I just want to throw that out there as well as something that some people might have a problem with. But now shifting to the pros, 36mm case, although going to be small, this is a nice complement to those that maybe we're looking at the 40mm being too large and want something that wears to that conventional case size that's going to be accommodating for smaller wrists. Movement, despite its accuracy range, is going to be reliable, solid. It's now been proven on the market for a decade and has been featured in millions of watches to this point, as robust as you're going to come across. Also, this field watch design is unique. There are many field watches out there. Not all of them are going to have their own identity. This one does. And for a price under $300, I think this watch is very tough to beat. Yes, you have some quartz offerings from brands like Citizen that are going to be similar pricing. Then you have models from Bulova, which have their own DNA and history to lean on. And then you have Hamilton, which of course are leaders in the world of field watches, but nowadays their prices are starting well over $500 even to get into a conventional entry-level khaki field. So with all this considered, if you're talking about a field watch for a smaller wrist and what is the best bang for buck that you can have in the entire industry, this watch probably has to be near the top, if not at the very pinnacle. Well, all right, everybody, that is all we have for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Really would appreciate that. It does help out the channel. Also, if you're in the market for this watch, it is available on TeddyBaldassarre.com. TeddyBaldassarre.com is a full authorized dealer of all the brands that we carry. Quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. How we're also able to fund all of our productions here as well as on our main channel is through selling watches on our site. So if you are in the market, we would absolutely love to have your business. It allows us to keep doing what we're doing, and we love what we do here. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.